Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited. Why? Because I get an opportunity now to have not just English interview, but a bilingual interview. That's right. I speak some Spanish. In New York, we speak Spanglish. And today we get a chance to revive something I've done a long time ago. MA Power Talk. But this one is completely more heartwarming for me. Reason being because, for whatever it's worth, guys, there aren't too many what I would consider successful martial arts leaders that happen to also be Latino. See, easy for me to say. But this gentleman absolutely is that person. He has, God, from over in Puerto Rico to here in the United States, he's presently in Kennesaw, Georgia, of all places, but also everywhere in the world. This guy yesterday was doing an online training via Zoom, and it was awesome because I noticed a few things. That first of all, it was early in the morning and people were actually participating. And of course, he was doing this in Spanish, but this guy speaks English pretty well. His English is probably better than my Spanish, but somewhere along the line, maybe we'll put those captions in the bottom. But bottom line, this is Master Fernando Camareno. My man, ¿cómo estamos?
Saludos, saludos. Greetings to everybody from Kennesaw, Georgia. Saludos a todos. Bien feliz, bien contento, siempre con ese entusiasmo de Fast Fit Jerry Fontanez, the legendary.
Oh man! So translation, what he said was, man, that guy was crazy all the time talking about me. Anyway, so I'm really excited, guys, because we were just having a conversation, and it's based on how the body actually functions. Now, just to give you a little background, Fernando Camareno and his daughter both used to wear Rexes back in the days and compete at martial arts tournaments. And my student, Fast Guy Louis True, took me out there to Puerto Rico a number of times, and we did seminars in Canta de Humacao, which was kind of freaking cool. Legendary stuff. We have people there from all over the island. It was so awesome. This is going back over 10 years, to be honest with you. Back in the late 2000s. But Camareno also, not only as a competitor, he was blitzing and kicking and doing everything. But his body actually was not, he was in pain. He was in pain. Maybe someone would say he was in pain because maybe he was breaking all those bricks. I'd be in pain too if I break those bricks. I don't know if that was the case. But one thing that was very interesting to me was that your relationship with your daughter was awesome. I never had a chance to have it in that capacity in terms of competition with my kids. But another thing was that I realized that you was also a businessman, which meant that you not just worked on the right side of your brain, the left side of your brain too. And that's something that normally doesn't happen with most martial or any art. So I would like to start, and again, guys, you're going to speak predominantly, we're going to do this as much as possible in English. And then what I want to do in the future, if you give me the opportunity, so I can work on my Spanish, hablamos en español la próxima vez. Si eso es okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So first and foremost, you have been involved in the martial arts industry in a variety of capacity, but what was your initial startup? Let's start from the beginning, because this is one of what will be, and guys, again, if I went to war and I had 300 people on my army, on my team, this is one of the gentlemen that I would want to have on my side. That's the reason why I invited you. This is not just to have a conversation. And when I watched you yesterday, I'm like, wait a second, I want to interview him. I got questions for him, but let me do it in a professional format as much as possible, because I think that people benefit from that. What was the inspiration?
I started in martial art when I was 6. I didn't have no choice. My father was one of the pioneers in the martial arts in Puerto Rico with the martial art of Shotokan. So I started in my home with my father and went through over 3 years and a half in the old curriculum of Shotokan, and I became a junior black belt at 9 years old. But at that time, I was looking for being in a school with other kids. Well, that time, there's not many kids at that time, but he bring me to the French school, Grandmaster Gilberto Rodriguez from Gariú Ricodó. And if you remember, on the 70s, Gariú Ricodó was the top school of karate and tournament in that time in Puerto Rico. So I started at 9 with him, and I was the only, well, not the only, the first kid that went through the process of the curriculum of Gariu Ricodo, and I get my junior black belt at 11. And then, I don't know the reason, Grandmaster Rodriguez closed the school. So I was like a 1 year practicing by myself, 1 year and a half. It's very funny because at that time I was thinking that I was Superman, and one day I was looking for trouble in the street with some guys, and he came a small guy. I saw him. He said, "Oh, I can get him," but he said, "You're gonna get this one." And he came a big guy, and he killed me. So I said,
what age were you? What age were you?
I was like 14.
So age 14. Okay, let me just stop you for a second, only because when it comes down to it, you said a few things that are very significant in the history of what would be martial arts in Puerto Rico. Because you got not just one junior black belt, but a second junior black belt. Guys, listen to what he said. The emphasis here is on the word junior, because in martial arts, many styles did not allow you to get your black belt until you was either 14, 16, or 18, depending on what lineage you came from. But a junior black belt obviously went through, as he said, the entire curriculum, and because of that, he was able to earn. And back then, it was a cocotazo, as they would say. In other words, it was hardcore. So before you got to the rude awakening in the street, let's go back and think about when you was getting ready to even get your black belt, being the only junior one of the first one during that time. How excited or nervous were you the first time and the second time? Because that breakthrough is a lot of lessons there.
Yes, no, it was a tough time. It was la dojo calabozo. But it makes what I am now. But in that occasion, when I saw that big guy, I made a mistake, only a big mistake. I turned back. So when I turned back, he threw me, boom, and he hit me in my face. So for instance, I was getting punches all the way down, but then I react and I start fighting, and somebody take me out from here. So my eyes was like this, and I look at the mirror and say, uh-oh. This is gonna be the last time of my life that somebody's gonna punch me in my face in the street. And until now, has been like that. So I was looking for a new school, and I saw a school was named Black Dragon Taekwondo. And at that time, John Brothers Taekwondo was the only team in Puerto Rico that was giving us a lot of hot time in the tournament. So I say, I like those guys, how they kick. So I would like to learn about that. So I joined and started white belt again in Taekwondo. And at 16, I became a first degree in Taekwondo, in the World Taekwondo Federation, but the Jido-Kwan system, Then at 17, I opened my first school, professional school. 17.
I was 16. You know why? I was the father at 17. So I had no other choice. But that right there is what's consistent with successful people. They decide beforehand and make themselves into the character, even though they may not have the credibility, but in their mindset. But you already have 3 black belts at this case. You already have at least 4 different styles, or I should say 3 styles that you got recognized for. And you already had an experience when you said, that's all I can stand, I can't stand no more. And when you stepped up and went to the next training, it was some serious stuff. That was embarrassing. Maybe there was some girls watching when that happened.
Yes, but at that time, everybody was running okay, but at that time, I suffered a big hit in my life. My mother passed away, and for me, it was a big shock. So I was so sad that I was so angry with the life. I was a lot of emotion in my life. So at that time I started experimenting with alcohol, drugs, all that stuff. But let me stop it there. When I was 8 years old, one world champion came to Puerto Rico. He was very young, and you know him. His name is Benny Urquidez.
Jet, baby.
He
Benny
don't,
the Jet Akitas, baby.
he don't know this. He don't know this. And I was there waiting in a line for an autograph. He was a very young fighter at that time. But I was like 8 years old. And I went through him, and he looked at me, he take off his belt, he put me in my waist, and he told me, if you learn how to focus on your life, you will get whatever you want in your life, and you will be a world champion. So I grew up all my life with that mentality. So I went to my first tournament, and because this guy told me that I'm gonna be a world champion, I said, I'm gonna win. No, I lost in the first fight. I went to the second one, lost in the first fight. So until the tournament number 13, all lost in the first fight.
Wow.
I throw the gloves to the floor. One instructor say, hey, young boy, sit down there. You know what the meaning means? He said, somebody who wins every time. No, yes, no, sir. A winner is somebody to lose a lot, and they get tired about losing. And I was like, he's talking about me. So the next time I went to second place. Next time I went to third place. And the third time I get the first place. And from that one until that time, I never lost. So,
wow.
So,
wow. So let me backtrack for a second. So Benny Akitas planted a seed on you, someone who you respected and believed. You went through the process. It was really difficult. Somebody gave you another jewel, and then after that, you became successful, and you was able to duplicate that multiple times over. Okay, phenomenal.
The deal is that we as a person have two capacities that can make everything very powerful on your life. It can be negative or it can be positive. It's everything that you can listen or everything that you can see, it can make me powerful in your mind. So we need to be careful what we listen, what we see, because it can be dangerous for your lives. You know, people don't know that for every 1 minute negative in your mind, we need 11 minutes of positive to put back your mind on your normal. So I was very focused, but at that time when my mother dies, my work went down, and I started experimenting with alcohol, party, drugs, and my career went down. So 3 years later, 4 years later, my father died in a motorcycle accident. So at that time, I get so depressed that I lose all my money, and I almost became, for 3 months and a half, homeless, without nothing in my life to do it. I was completely in depression. So at that time, I was working, looking for some $40 for the weekend, and I was painting a 2-floor house, and almost finished the house. I took out the ladder. I didn't check that was high voltage electrical cables crossing. So when I take out the ladder, I touch the cables, and I receive an impact of 13,570 volts. The electric chair has 4,000 volts.
Wow.
So when I touch those cables, I don't know what's happened, but I cannot move. And it was like, whoa. Then when they exploded, I went down to the floor, and I cannot move. And I saw just a light. You remember when the old ones TV before, in the past, when you put it out, it goes like,
Yep.
I saw the same. I saw a light closing, and disappear. I don't know where I went, but I remember that place. I went to a place that I can see, but I cannot see myself. It was completely darkness, and I can hear a lot of voices yelling, take me out of here, give me a chance, please. It was a pandemonium. So I was trying to yell, but I can't. And in one moment, I did a strong yell, and the only word that I say was Lord. And in that moment, I just hear a voice that shout all of them, and I hear this: "You got a chance. Look for that, and you're gonna find it." So I went up alive, back alive. After 25 minutes, lay down in the floor, totally rusted, burned. I had on my legs second and third degree burns. I lost one of my toes. I was a lot of pain. I went to the hospital, 3 heart attacks in the ambulance. So making the story long short, 3 days later, my body stopped moving from my waist to my legs. So nobody knows what's happening, and nobody knows if I'm gonna walk again. So for 11 months and a half, I was in a wheelchair. And every day they need to clean up those burns with the bruise.
Or they'll get infected.
It was very painful.
Yeah, that to scrub off the meat.
So it was very, very challenging, the process of recovery, because I have sensitivity, but I cannot move. So, and the people, they don't know. First, they don't know how I was alive. They say, don't worry about it, you're alive. What do you mean, don't worry about it? I cannot walk. And every day I make the people stretch myself, trying to do, but every week, every day, months. So I get recovered almost like 1-2 years later, and then my life changed. I get married, but 14 years later, I get a total recovery, but I was weighing like 280 pounds.
All right, so hold on a second. So what you're telling me is that in your early 20s, your father passes away. Before that, you opened up a martial arts school, become somewhat successful, I would assume, to be able to live off of it.
Yes.
Drop down to the point where you was doing any type of menial task, to the point where you became a painter, and then literally died. Wasn't even able to walk, and then was able to recuperate, but it took you 14 years, and you had gained up to 280 pounds. I would assume you would have been probably low 120, 30, 40, 50 before that happened, whatever it was, because he was young. So
no, at that time, I was the middleweight champion in 160.
All right, so now, guys, obviously this gentleman here has a whole bunch of information. So it have to be a multiple part interview, because when it comes down to it, one of the 300 that I pick, and now hearing that experience firsthand from you, it gives me even more respect for you. I know that. I don't know how many people do know that, but tenacity and overcoming what would be challenges, there's different levels to that. Yes. Guys, there's different levels to that. This gentleman passed away. Okay, so now you're 280 pounds, as a former champion. You went through all these different stages. You have no mother, you have no father, you have no feeling in certain parts of your body. And now I would assume now you're in your mid-30s or so, and now your body is 280 pounds. So let's take it from there. At that
time, I was 38 years. So I try every kind of diet, and I started looking for my health, because I wasn't looks like obese. I look very big, very strong, because I'm a heavy bone. But the people that know me say, whoa, what happened to you? And I didn't see myself. I was 42 inches of waist. But you know, when you gain weight, you buy bigger clothes, so you don't see yourself big. So, but one day I was, all during those process, I was in a wheelchair. I was doing a lot of my exercise on my wheelchair. And I did a lot of visualization exercise. I call that psychoneurology, immunology process in my mind. So I never stopped training, even if I was on the web in a wheelchair. So at that time, I went to the this summer camp for kids that suffer diabetes type 1. So those kids didn't have a chance, didn't have a choice. They burn like that. They burn like that. So I saw how those kids for having a normal camp, they have to check their blood every hour. Okay, they went to an activity, check blood. Okay, it's too high, start running, start doing something. It's too low, eat something. So it was a totally monitoring stage. For each 5 kids, it was 1 nurse and 2 counselors that was constantly checking on them. If not, they cannot have a normal life. So one of the nurses saw me, he say, hey, Camareno, you have to better watch out your weight. And I say, no, I'm strong. I never get sick, you know. She say, no. Do you know what is metabolic syndrome? Yo, no. Metabolic syndrome is the process that is just before, so you develop the type 2 diabetes. Oh, I have all many tested. I'm okay. I'm new. No, you cannot make a test to see how that going on your life. How was that? Yes. You can be good. You have it, and tomorrow you wake up, boom, you have diabetes too. Oh, but we have a profiles of people of different profiles that makes you in the risk people of diabetes too. So what is the range? Oh, Latin people with 5'8", 5'9" of height and 5'9", and 38 inches or more of weight.
And you're at 42 already.
And I was 42. I said, whoa. So I went back home and I say, I will be a stupid if because my indiscipline, if I develop a disease like that and change my life, those kids didn't have a choice. I have a choice. I need to do something. So I start changing my habits of eating, start many diets. So I went down through almost 260 something, 250, but suffering a lot to do it. One day there is a master in San Germán, Puerto Rico, Master Bill Zafiropoulos. He has one of the oldest Taekwondo tournament, and he bring the ISKA World Champion team Bergamo, from the ESPN champions to the tournament to make an opening.
I believe he's from Connecticut, right?
In Connecticut, yes. So I was the one that talked him about those guys because I was a follower of those guys when I was in a wheelchair. When I was in a wheelchair.
I have to stop you for a second. I just freed up 15 more minutes for myself. It's almost 8:30. I don't know what your schedule allows it, but obviously I want to be respectful of your schedule. Do you have 15 more minutes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So back to the team coming down. Yes.
So I talked to him and said, you saw those guys on ESPN? Every year I saw those guys on ESPN, and I was struggling myself and say how stupid I was. You know, I waste my time. I probably I was going to be in that level of competition, but look at me now, how I am. So I was always struggling myself every year. But when this guy called me, say, hey, I sign up these people for come here to the opening, but I need somebody to be their host. I said, me? I want to meet those guys, and I want to hang out with those guys. So that time I take care of them. And Master Bergamo told me, Grandmaster Bergamo, at the end of the day, he told me, hey, people told me that you in the past you were a good competitor in breakings and fighting. Why don't you come back again and compete? And I smiled him. I said, come on, look at me. I'm 38. I'm weighing 240 pounds. I think it's all over. And he looked very serious to me and told me, hey, whenever you have a goal in your life, never give up. And if you never get it, at least the intention to get it, nobody can take you from that. So that put me back 30 years back when that champion told me that I need to focus. And my reactions were what I have to do. So you say,
by the way, that's a good question. Somebody has reached the wall, don't know where to go, and somebody gives them some inspiration, asking them for advice is very important. That was a good question to ask.
So he went back to Connecticut, and 2 weeks later he called me, hey, a guy from Australia. It was because it's going to be a wild card tournament for the last 12 spaces for the World Championship in the US Open. So I was not sitting because I wasn't on the circuit. And he called me and said, hey, the guy from Australia leave his spot and I reserve it for you. Oh, good. Excellent. I was like, oh my God. Now, I'm going to offer this. This has not happened before. We don't know why we are doing this, but you were so kind when we were in Puerto Rico that we would like to invite you to compete as a part of our team. They didn't know that I was a crazy fan of them. They didn't know about my thought. So I was like, are you kidding? Yeah, sure. So I started training. I went down almost to 235 pounds. I went to Connecticut North American Championship from the ISKA. It was the wild card for the World Championship. And only 18 competitors, but only 12 qualified, the first 12. So I get that time I was in the heavyweight division. So I got that time the 9th place. So I qualified for the World Champions. Then I went down a little bit, like 230, 35. And I went to my first World Championship in 2004. And I got a 5th place between 25 competitors. And you know, a 5th place in the ISKA US Open is good.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I was with big guys, you know. But then I made my first world record ending of that year in 2004 because I want to share my story to people, but nobody knows me. And all my teammates have records, have championship, and what I got. So I started thinking of making my first world champion and my first world record. And the record was 200 bricks breaking 200 bricks in a minute with one hand. So I want to make 300. So I went through that process and I trained. And the Lord gave me the opportunity to break 310 bricks in 1 minute. That was my first record. So once you become a world record holder, everything changed. Now, whatever you say, everybody wants to hear you. And that was the meaning of that. But 2004 changed, and in 2005, I say I need to go back to under 200 pounds for being the lightweight division. And then I discovered this nutraceutical technology that helped me to get back my health and my weight. So I went down to 195, and I started the circuit in 2005 in 195. So making the story long short, because we don't have time, from 2005 until 2009, I was able to win 7 times world champions on breaking and 6 world records. Even international, North American, United States, all the circuit, I was completely, totally different. So you see, in life, you cannot give up of anything, no matter what. So I use all those things in the last almost 30 years or more. I have been concentrating my life in these 3 aspects. People know me because I have been always improving and growing in my personal aspect and my spiritual aspect. The second thing is my love for the martial arts. I love martial arts. And my passion for develop scalability business.
Say it in Spanish, and I can translate. Don't worry about it.
Escalabilidad, that's a different word.
Yeah, that's a different word. Yeah, no, those are translated.
I always have a passion for making business, but have to be with scalability worldwide.
Scalability. So you don't want it to be limited. You want it to be worldwide scalability.
Yes, because I was traveling a lot, and I say, whoa, there is many different kind of economics. How I can participate from all those economics? From
Being global, using technology, being from Puerto Rico but living in Georgia presently. Anywhere in the world, the people from all over the world will see this, because the world has changed, and you're not a man from just the past or the present, but you're also the future. Timeless.
Yes.
Limitless.
So at that time, in 2009, I was in a good shape, but inside my body, I was very injured. So I closed my school that time for 6 months. I was thinking to get retired because I was trying to train one day. I went back home with a lot of pain inside. I cannot practice daily. I have to wait 2 days and say something's wrong here. So in 2009, I met Grandmaster Kwan Choi. He's the founder of the Choi Kwan Do, is this one. And I went here to Kennesaw for 7 days. And I discovered that I was not old, that I was only doing a design of motion that is not, that is contraindicated to your body, how your body is.
It's not conducive to the joints and the way the body, kinesiology-wise, it was not proper.
Exactly. So making the story long short, in 11 years, I never hurt my body again. I have more speed, more power at this moment. And so I concentrate in that aspect of my life. Now, today I'm the operation director for the worldwide here in the headquarters. I just started last February. This is in the process, in a good process. But at the same time, I developed different kind of business, because in the mid of the 20th century, it was the agriculture economy, and we have a change to the industrial economy. That is the one that is dying at this moment. So that time it was a lot of change on people, but today we are going through a change from the industrial economy to the interconnected economy.
Yeah, which is information, well, so, global information. Yeah, what we're doing right now.
So at this moment, through all these past 10, 15 years, I have been developing in the social media, in the technology, because the world is not going to change. It already changed many years ago. But now the people are more receptive to connect to the technology. They didn't have choice. So the COVID make only go faster that process of change.
All right, so let's talk about that for a second, guys. So this is what happened. Like I mentioned before, back in 2008, I was already doing what Power Talk. At the time, the technology was telephone. We were able to do conferences, and those conferences were recording, right? And today, that's equivalent to what would be podcasting, which has done a resurgence. Podcasting is big. Podcasting is talk radio. As you guys are watching this, there's a possibility this will be a podcast also, so we get a chance to become multimedia. A few minutes ago, I actually put together a little logo. I'm not happy with it 100%, but I do have a logo, so that would be number one. The point is that the world has changed a long time ago. It's taken people a long time to catch up, because if it wasn't for COVID, people would still be teaching the old way, belly to belly only, most of them. Even though the Gracie Academy for over 10 years has had over 100,000 participants, and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars online. But people want to hold on to the past, and we cannot hold back anything. We have to learn how to flow with it. And I believe that's what I've always seen you do, because guys, again, in between those two, in between those many stories, he also became a very successful speaker. He also became a very, very successful martial arts school owner that charged top dollar like a professional out of Puerto Rico. But just that, he competed, in tournaments, internationally, not just as a breaking bricks, but he was competing and sparring and doing the left-right drill and a bunch of things with some other crazy Puerto Rican that came from the Bronx over to Puerto Rico. And again, I guess you guys see and understand why I would say that this gentleman is one of those 300 people that I would have on my team. And that's important, guys, because I know, with so many people, past, present, that I've met, not everybody does the same amount of impact. Professionalism is what you've always had. And I appreciate professionalism. At the same time, it hasn't been where it's like the average doctor or lawyer or maybe a grandmaster, that they have no personality. No, you've always been humane, and I appreciate that, because a lot of people believe their own hype, believe their own stories, and lose the human touch.
Yes.
So I appreciate you for that. Well, we got 3 minutes, and I'm gonna shut up because I want.
And that's something that in the near future and in the present and the near future, that is going to happen. You see, today there is around 80 billions of people that use technology, but only the 20% of them are creating content for those 80 billion people.
The 80-20 rule always applies, guys. Doesn't matter what it is. 80-20 rule.
So at this moment, the world changed, the economy changed, but in the process of this change, there is a 20%, another 20% of people that they're not going to make, 10% of those people, they're not going to make the change because they don't have the intelligence, the resources, the money for making the change to get involved in this change of economy.
They don't believe.
So that
they don't want change.
So that means that there's going to be, the people are going to be very poor, but the worst that is happened in the history in the world. So having 10% of the whole population with poorest is going to be a nightmare. So we need to be ready with a lot of love, with a lot of compassion, because there is going to be a lot of people that we're going to need it. We keep moving forward. We need to keep going, relearning ourselves. That's what I do. You see, this next month, I start another career as a Ayurveda wellness clinical consultant and integrative medicine. People say to me,
Ayurveda is from, that's India, Eastern philosophies to teach you how to.
Yes, I'm going to be studying with the Maharishi International University online. But what is 3 years? 3 years is going like this. So I'm 54. Why are you still now? People are retiring at 54, 60. They're retiring to go vacation. No, people are retiring for just wait for they die. They don't make exercise. They don't do anything. At 54, I'm looking to the future for the next 40 years in completely health. 40 years is a lot of time to do a lot of things.
Well, listen, the bottom line is that at age 50, remember, I'm January 10th, 1966 is when I was born. So I'm 54 years young also, just like you.
So I'm February 8th.
There you go.
66.
Respect the elders. So that being the case, guys, a lot of people, like you said, have given up on the possibilities. That could happen at age 25, 35, 45. I remember being 45 years old, and now I'm 54 years young. And the difference is having goals and aspirations and desires.
My boss, my grandmaster he's 78 and he's marvelous. He's like a 24 years old young athlete. He's still fast and punching, and he's only 5'6", 108 pounds, and I cannot hold a pad for him. It's too much.
Yeah, well, speed and weight equals power, and the muscle moves faster when it's relaxed. And one of the things that I can attest to is that my instructors in his 70s also, Grandmaster Byung-Min Kim, younger brother of Supreme Grandmaster Sang-Soo Tiger Kim, and we trained together in December, and he was still doing his thumb push-ups. And the exercises look more towards yoga, the breathing, understanding how to warm up not just your legs, but also your lung, your spleen, the internal. Yeah, so there's different levels to martial arts, guys, and it sounds like right now that you got exposed to a very unique, and I gotta say unique because most people just see the flashy part, the breaking boards, the breaking necks, but no, it's really based on the holistic totality of the entire mind, body, and spirit, and understanding that the biggest organ we have is our skin, and we have to take care of it. But at the same time, the mind-body connection is the pineal gland. We can get pretty deep here, guys, but for nice, so again, guys, you understand why this guy here, how are you? That guy there, yeah, that guy there, that's what I mean, that guy there, which way do we go? I don't know. It's on my 300. Well, we're 2 minutes over your time, and I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Actually, one question. Will it be possible in the future, based on your schedule, to return and have this conversation again? Because I don't care if it's a 10 part. I think we're all, and that's really what it comes down to. The martial arts community has no color, no creed, nonsense. The divide and conquer is the first line of war. That's what people have done. Don't believe the hype. Don't go for that. There's people of similar mind worldwide that look all very different. And in our family, he's the blanquito, I'm the trigueñito or the indio, and my grandmother was Africana, and we all freaking loving it. So that's all the shades, guys. Just don't be confused. It's not about color, it's about culture, and the culture should be about love and spreading love. That's about it.
There is only one language, and it's love.
There it is. And that's a 4-letter word, by the way. So that 4-letter word could be used easily. Sir, I bow and I salute you. I really appreciate you. I know that this is not what would normally happen in terms of getting you that easy to interview because you have a busy schedule, but I really, really appreciate it. God bless you. Oh, when I say AB, you say see ya. AB?
See.
Hey, see ya. Take it easy. I appreciate it. God bless.
Okay.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.